Hello, you're watching Movie Snapshot Scenes, and this is the summary of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 2. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The end was near. After burying Dobby, Harry, Ron and Hermione knew what they had to do next. Break into Gringotts Bank. Bellatrix's panicked reaction at Malfoy Manor had confirmed that another Horcrux was hidden inside her vault. If they wanted to defeat Voldemort, they had to steal it. But breaking into Gringotts was nearly impossible. The bank was heavily protected with layers of enchantments, goblin guards, and dangerous traps. They needed help. They turned to Griphook, a goblin prisoner they had rescued from Malfoy Manor. He agreed to help them, but at a price. He wanted the Sword of Gryffindor, arguing that it rightfully belonged to goblins. Though Harry had no intention of giving it up, he agreed to hand it over after they got the Horcrux. At the same time, they sought out Ollivander, the Wandmaker, for information. He confirmed what Harry feared. Voldemort now had the Elder Wand. But even with the most powerful wand in history, victory wasn't guaranteed. The wand chooses the wizard, Ollivander warned. If the Elder Wand hadn't fully accepted Voldemort as its master, he might not be invincible just yet. With no time to waste, they put their risky plan into action. Using Polyjuice Potion, Hermione disguised herself as Bellatrix Lestrange, while Ron altered his appearance with magic. Accompanied by Griphook and Harry under the invisibility cloak, they entered Gringotts undetected. At first, everything went smoothly, but as they reached the underground vaults, suspicion grew. The goblins began to question Hermione's disguise. When they finally entered Bellatrix's vault, they found it packed with treasures. Gold, jewels, and artifacts stacked to the ceiling. But there, among the riches, was what they had come for. Helga Hufflepuff's cup, the next Horcrux. Just as Harry grabbed it, the treasure suddenly multiplied, triggered by a deadly enchantment. The vault began to overflow, burying them alive in an avalanche of burning hot gold. Realizing they were trapped, Harry made a desperate move. He grabbed Griphook's sword, snatched the Horcrux, and fought his way out. As alarms blared, the trio escaped by leaping onto the back of a captured dragon. Soaring high above London, they had one more Horcrux in their hands, but Voldemort knew they were coming. As the dragon carried them away from Gringotts, Harry, Ron, and Hermione held on tightly, watching the city shrink below them. They had successfully stolen Helga Hufflepuff's cup, another Horcrux, but there was no time to celebrate. Once they were far enough, they jumped into a lake, soaking wet but alive. As they recovered, Harry's scar burned fiercely, and he was pulled into another vision of Voldemort's mind. He saw Voldemort standing among corpses at Gringotts. The Dark Lord had discovered the theft and, in a furious rage, slaughtered the goblins who had failed him. But what terrified Harry most was what came next. Voldemort now knew they were hunting his Horcruxes. Through the vision, Harry saw something else. The next Horcrux was hidden at Hogwarts. Determined, they headed toward the castle, but they needed a way inside. They traveled to Hogsmeade, hoping to sneak in unnoticed. However, the moment they arrived, an alarm sounded, alerting Death Eaters stationed in the village. Desperate, they hid in a dark alley, but before they could be discovered, a hooded figure pulled them into safety. It was Aberforth Dumbledore, Albus's younger brother. He had been watching them through a portrait of his sister, Ariana. Aberforth was bitter and angry, still blaming Albus for their family's past tragedies. But Harry convinced him they needed to fight. If Hogwarts was the next battleground, they had to get inside before Voldemort did. Through Ariana's portrait, they entered a hidden tunnel, which led directly into the Room of Requirement. Inside, they found Neville Longbottom and a group of students who had formed a resistance against Snape's rule. The moment Harry arrived, the castle erupted into chaos. Students cheered. The real fight was about to begin. But before they could prepare, Harry had a realization. The next Horcrux must be Rowena Ravenclaw's lost diadem. With Snape still in control of the castle and Voldemort approaching, they had little time. The Battle of Hogwarts was about to begin. The Battle of Hogwarts had begun. With Harry, Ron, and Hermione now inside the castle, they quickly joined forces with Neville and the others to strategize. Their main goal was clear. They had to find and destroy Voldemort's remaining Horcruxes before it was too late. Harry immediately realized that the diadem of Ravenclaw, the next Horcrux, must be hidden somewhere in the castle, but he had no idea where. He decided to search the Room of Requirement, a magical room that could change its shape and contents according to one's needs. With the help of Neville, Harry quickly found out that the room could only be accessed if they truly needed something. Meanwhile, Snape, who was now headmaster, was growing increasingly tense. Harry knew that he couldn't trust Snape, but Snape's true allegiance remained unclear. Harry had learned of the protection Snape had placed on the castle to shield it from Voldemort's forces. Despite his suspicions, Harry knew they couldn't afford to waste time. As the battle raged outside, Harry, Ron, and Hermione raced through the corridors in search of the Horcrux. They finally reached the Room of Requirement and, after some effort, managed to locate the diadem, hidden in plain sight. But just as Harry was about to take it, Draco Malfoy and other Death Eaters appeared and attempted to stop them. A fight broke out, but Ron and Hermione bravely held off the attackers. Harry, with the diadem of Ravenclaw in his hands, quickly made his escape, but not before he realized that the Horcrux could still be destroyed with the help of Fiendfire, a powerful magical fire. Meanwhile, Neville and the other students were battling the Death Eaters outside, with Voldemort's forces closing in on the castle. As Harry returned to the castle, he realized just how close Voldemort was to his final victory. Determined, Harry hurried to destroy the diadem, and with the help of the Sword of Gryffindor, he managed to destroy the diadem, shattering the Horcrux. This was one more victory, but Voldemort's hold on the battle was far from broken. The Battle of Hogwarts raged on, and the castle was filled with chaos. Harry, now more determined than ever, was racing against time to destroy the remaining Horcruxes. The diadem of Ravenclaw had been destroyed, but there was still more to do. While the battle continued outside, Harry knew Voldemort's ultimate weapon, the Elder Wand, was in his grasp. Voldemort was getting stronger, and Harry knew the only way to defeat him was to destroy all the Horcruxes. As Harry made his way through the castle, he encountered Snape once again, who seemed to be watching over the proceedings. In a tense confrontation, Snape revealed the truth. He had been working against Voldemort all along. He was loyal to Dumbledore and had been protecting Harry from the very beginning. Snape's betrayal had been a ruse. He had been acting on Dumbledore's orders, knowing that the only way to defeat Voldemort was for Harry to survive. But to Harry's surprise, Snape didn't survive the final battle. He was killed by Voldemort in the end. While Harry and his friends continued their search for the final Horcruxes, the battle outside grew fiercer. The Death Eaters had gained the upper hand, and many of the school's defenders were being killed. Neville Longbottom led the charge, inspiring the students to fight back. He was a true hero, standing bravely against Voldemort's forces. Meanwhile, Harry learned that he himself was the final Horcrux. Voldemort had unknowingly made a piece of his soul reside within Harry when he attempted to kill him as a baby. The prophecy had been true. Harry had to die to defeat Voldemort. With a heavy heart, Harry sacrificed himself and walked straight into Voldemort's path. Voldemort believed he had finally won. In the Forbidden Forest, Harry willingly allowed Voldemort to strike him down, hoping it would destroy the piece of Voldemort's soul that lived inside him. But something unexpected happened. Instead of dying, Harry found himself in a strange place. There, he met the spirit of Dumbledore, who explained that the piece of Voldemort's soul within Harry had been destroyed, but Harry himself could still live. With a newfound strength, Harry was ready for the final confrontation. Harry stood in the strange, otherworldly place, faced with the spirit of Dumbledore. The headmaster explained that Voldemort's killing curse, which Harry had endured, had destroyed the piece of Voldemort's soul that was within him. Harry was not truly dead. He was given a choice: to return to the battle or to move on. With his mission incomplete and Voldemort still at large, Harry chose to return. Back in the Forbidden Forest, Harry opened his eyes. Voldemort, believing Harry was dead, had instructed his followers to celebrate. But the battle raged on, and Harry now knew it was time for the final confrontation. His sacrifice had not been in vain. The Horcruxes had been destroyed, and Voldemort's power was weakening. As Harry emerged from the forest, Voldemort saw him and was furious. He ordered his forces to attack, but Harry stood tall. He realized the Elder Wand, which Voldemort had been using, was not truly loyal to him. It had never fully accepted him as its master. The wand had recognized Harry as its true master when Harry had disarmed Draco Malfoy earlier. Harry now knew that the Elder Wand was not the key to victory. It was the love and loyalty of his friends and allies that would defeat Voldemort. With his newfound understanding of the wand's true power, Harry confronted Voldemort in the Great Hall. The final battle was intense, and both sides fought fiercely. Voldemort unleashed his most powerful curses, but Harry, with the strength of his love for his friends and his knowledge of the Elder Wand's true nature, stood his ground. As Voldemort cast the killing curse, Harry used the Elder Wand against him, and the curse rebounded. The Dark Wizard was finally defeated, his body crumbling into dust. The battle was over. Voldemort was gone, and the wizarding world was free. At last, with Voldemort's death, the Death Eaters crumbled and peace was restored. Harry, Ron, Hermione, Neville, and all those who had fought in the battle stood victorious, though the cost had been high. Many lives had been lost, including some of their closest friends. But the ultimate triumph was the defeat of the Dark Lord, the end of his reign of terror. The wizarding world could finally begin to heal, and Harry, with his friends by his side, could live the life he had always dreamed of, free from fear and darkness. With Voldemort's defeat, the wizarding world began to rebuild. Harry, Ron, Hermione, and their friends returned to Hogwarts for a moment of peace, reflecting on the loss and sacrifice they had all endured. The battle had been brutal, and many lives had been lost, but the ultimate victory had brought freedom to the wizarding world. In the aftermath, Harry discovered that he was no longer burdened with the weight of the prophecy. The Elder Wand, having been defeated, no longer posed a threat. In a final act of closure, Harry used the Elder Wand one last time to repair his own wand, which had been broken during his final battle with Voldemort. Then, he made the decision to destroy the Elder Wand, ensuring that no one would ever use its power for evil again. The loss of so many friends, such as Fred Weasley, Remus Lupin, and Nymphadora Tonks, weighed heavily on those who had survived. But there was also a sense of hope, knowing that they had fought for something worth believing in. Harry, now free from the Dark Lord's shadow, could begin to live a life of peace. Harry, Ron, and Hermione returned to the Burrow, where they were welcomed with open arms. The Weasley family had suffered deeply during the war, but their bond had only grown stronger. The three friends sat together, their hearts full of gratitude and love for each other. As time passed, Harry's relationship with Ginny Weasley blossomed, and Ron and Hermione grew closer as well. The scars of the past were not easily healed, but with their families and friends by their side, they slowly began to rebuild their lives. The next generation of witches and wizards began their journey at Hogwarts, and the old dark fears seemed to fade. In a moving moment, Harry stood before the Gryffindor house table, watching as new students were sorted into the school. He felt a sense of peace, knowing that the future was no longer controlled by fear. At the Hogwarts Express platform, years later, Harry, Ron, and Hermione watched as their own children boarded the train, ready to begin their own adventures. Harry's life had come full circle. The boy who had once been thrust into a world of magic was now a man who had helped change that world for the better. The story of Harry Potter had come to an end, but the legend would live on, not just in the books of history, but in the hearts of those who believed in the power of love, friendship, and courage.